Welcome to this week's watercolor adventure. I'm Bill Holcomb, and today we are off to the oldest city in America, the beautiful St. Augustine, to paint the Castillo de San Marcos. This city has provided me with many great opportunities to paint its historical landmarks over the years, and I hope you will join me by downloading my free sketch below and painting along during this step-by-step tutorial. There's nothing quite like getting outside and painting plein air. It's great for the creative process and really helps you get a feel for your subject. So if you're lacking creative inspiration or just haven't tried it before, I recommend taking the jump and getting out there. I'll give you some further details and tips for setting up your paint station in the description below. But please feel free to drop a comment with any of your tips or observations that may help other artists when painting outside. You will see that I have my easel set at a slight angle, about 25 degrees slope from top to bottom, so that when I start to lay the paint down, it will slowly creep down the paper and prevent pooling and creep back from the sides, etc. Starting here with Winsor Blue at the top with a mop brush, so that the paint will slowly come down as mentioned. And sometimes when painting plein air, if you're going to be there quite some time, shadows will of course all change, the sun direction will change, and therefore, if appropriate, it might be best to lay some shadows down first, but that's a case of personal choice. So remember about bright sunlight and how that affects things. It will make your pigment look much more vibrant and lighter. And then of course you get a variation as it dries. So for this particular subject matter, which I've painted previously, but this time I've chosen a different angle to paint the Castillo in St. Augustine. When choosing a subject matter, think very carefully about the overall size that you wish to include in the painting. You may need to crop down to a certain size, and also think about your principal points of interest. So we have, for instance, this large lookout tower strategically placed in the painting. If you think of the square on the painting and its 4 points, the tower clearly is in the top right hand point of a square. And then we have the smaller one in the far distance and the bottom left hand point of the square. So I think compositionally this works quite well. I would, on this occasion, I've not laid shadows down first. That can be a feature of a future painting, plein air, but I'm going to paint extremely quickly. I know in the video it might not appear so, but I am painting quite quickly. And of course I'm keeping things in one position at the moment, so that you can easily follow what's happening. For that principal tower, I've laid some of the yellow wash, which is Winsor Yellow with some yellow ochre. And then on the left-hand sunny side of that tower, I've laid down a clear wash of water and allowed the two to fuse together. I'll be keeping the left side as light as possible because that's the direction from the sun. Now for the pathway here, it's not a well-defined one. It's traversed many times, of course. I've got a sandy area and I've added a little bit of light red with the yellow mixtures to make it warmer in the foreground. You'll notice I've added a few people for interest in the middle distance at the horizon level, and they will have various colours which will give some vibrancy to the subject matter and some interest. Please remember to like and subscribe, because if you do so, you'll be notified of future videos in advance. Now, the various facades that I've been painting have dried sufficiently that I'm now laying in some shadow. You can use Winsor Blue and Light Red. Another good paint for shadows is French Ultramarine and Light Red. But today we're sticking with the colours we started with. So Winsor Blue and Light Red, and lay that down with a mop brush. And then once you've done that, still wet in wet, you'll be able to add darker pigments. And I started with a mop brush, then I've gone to darker pigments with something like a number 12 rounded brush. And as I lay those shadows down, I'm thinking of the direction of the coquina to indicate the structure and also the direction. Think of your eye level as well at this point. So really your eye level is close to the horizon, which I've chosen on purpose. There's a little bit of dark going in on the grass area there, indicate the shadow coming from that facade. Once again with that tower, I'm darkening the pigment and laying that on and leaving the left hand side lighter as before. So as in watercolor, as I've mentioned a number of times before, it's very much a case of having underpainting. As you know, we go from light to dark. So lighter underpaintings and then overlaying darker washes until you achieve the hue that you're aiming for and the strength of light and dark. It's good to use a flat brush when you've got the equivalent of brickwork, because as I said, this is coquina. It's a sort of shell. It's broken shells from the sea, various mixture to strengthen it, and it absorbs the cannonballs extremely well. It's very hard to knock down these walls, and that's why the Spanish built the Castillo in this fashion. So nevertheless, there are little square sections here and there which are quite evident, and therefore it's good to use a square flat brush for that part of the detail in the painting. And once again, when laying these down, think about your eye level again. So the top section, those lines are sloping downwards. Then you get the middle section where they're even, and then as you go further down, sloping upwards. You'll be seeing later on that where the three cannon are situated and regularly fired, the gunpowder residue comes down that facade, leaves marks down that wall. And the flag that we'll be painting in later is the design of the Castillo Spanish flag as it was at the time. You will see that I've done quite a few paintings of St. Augustine. As mentioned, I've done the Castillo from a different angle than this one, and I've done a Villiers Street, the oldest street in the USA, and the lighthouse. These can be seen on my various websites, and prints can be ordered. The important thing for this painting, I think, because it's primarily structure, buildings with the Castillo, is the play of light versus dark. If you've seen various photographs of St. Augustine, and also at the beginning of this particular tutorial we showed St. George Street, etc., you would have seen these original flag designs, included that one I mentioned of the early Spanish one for the Castillo. For the palm on the palm trees, I've used a much smaller size brush so I can get those thin strands. You can use something like a number 2, and of course at home, if you're painting this in the studio, you could of course turn the paper round, but for the demonstration, of course, I've kept the paper in one place all the time for the filming and to be able to produce an effective video. As I mentioned, with the figures, this is where you can have a little bit more fun and add some colour, choose various colours to brighten the painting and add human interest and a little bit of movement to the painting. And remember those shadows. The sun is reasonably high at this point. And please remember to like and subscribe so that we can notify you immediately of future uploading of tutorials for free. So those shadows from the people in the palm trees don't extend too far across the walkway. And for the walkway, very much trodden on sandy area, just make sure that you break that up as much as possible rather than just straight lines. And I hope that you have found this plein air painting example interesting. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.